If you're thinking about filing for guardianship, you might be wondering, what kind of proof do I need to show the court that someone can't manage their affairs anymore? Let's walk through what really matters and what doesn't. Hi, I'm Samantha Fitzgerald with SJF Law Group in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In Florida, when someone believes that an adult can no longer make safe or sound decisions, maybe due to dementia, a brain injury, or another condition, the law provides a process under Chapter 744 called guardianship. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. You don't have to collect stacks of medical records to prove incapacity. The court takes care of that for you. Once you file a petition, the judge appoints a 3-person examining committee, 3 trained professionals, usually a physician, a psychologist, and a social worker or nurse. Each member of that committee meets with the person, evaluates their ability to make decisions, and then files a report directly with the court. Those reports include professional opinions about whether the person is capable of handling their personal, medical, and financial matters. The judge relies heavily on these reports when deciding whether a guardianship is needed and what type. Here's how it works in practice. If 2 or more of the 3 examining committee members agree that a guardianship is necessary, the court can move forward and hold a hearing called an incapacity hearing to determine whether the person should be declared incapacitated and whether to appoint a guardian. If 2 or more members say that guardianship is not necessary, the petition will usually be dismissed because the court presumes the person is still capable of making their own decisions. This is why it's so important to be honest and specific in your petition. It sets the stage for the examining committee to understand the concerns they should look into. So if you don't need to gather medical evidence, what can you do to help? You can prepare a short timeline and a few concrete examples that show what's really happening day to day, the kinds of things that raise safety or decision-making concerns. For example, you might include things like missed medications or taking the wrong doses, which can lead to ER visits or hospitalizations, unpaid bills, utility shutoffs, or eviction notices showing they can no longer manage their finances, repeated falls or wandering from home, especially if neighbors or police have had to help them back. Unsafe driving, such as getting lost on familiar routes or minor accidents that go unreported. Scams or financial exploitation, like giving large sums of money to telemarketers or strangers online. Poor hygiene, spoiled food, or neglect of medical needs, showing that self-care has broken down. Confusion about time or place, like showing up for appointments on the wrong day or forgetting where they live. Personality or behavior changes, such as sudden anger, paranoia, or withdrawal from family and friends. Unsafe home conditions like rotting food, unpaid maintenance, or hoarding that creates a hazard. Health-related red flags, such as forgetting insulin or blood pressure medication, or refusing necessary treatment because they don't understand the risks. These details help the court see a pattern, not just isolated mistakes, but ongoing risks that show the person can't manage safely without help. Keep your notes factual, short, and dated. Judges appreciate specific facts, not opinions. If you have existing documents like hospital discharge summaries, a police welfare check, or letters from caregivers, those can help provide context, but they aren't mandatory. The guardianship process begins when someone files a petition to determine incapacity. This petition outlines specific facts showing that an adult may not be able to manage their personal or financial affairs safely. The court then appoints an attorney to represent the person who is alleged to be incapacitated. That person is called the alleged incapacitated person, or AIP. They have rights throughout the process, including the right to notice, the right to attend the hearing, and the right to legal counsel. After the petition is filed, the judge appoints a 3-member examining committee to independently evaluate the AIP. Each member files a written report stating whether the person is capable, partially incapable, or fully incapable of exercising certain legal rights. The total time between the filing of the petition and the hearing may not exceed 28 days unless good cause is shown. The next step is the incapacity hearing, which is an evidentiary hearing. This means testimony is taken and a record is created. At the hearing, the general magistrate or judge reviews the examining committee's reports and hears testimony from the petitioner and sometimes other witnesses, such as caregivers or relatives. The petitioner may be asked to describe specific examples of unsafe behavior or explain why less restrictive alternatives, like a power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, aren't enough. After hearing the evidence, the magistrate prepares a report and recommendation for the circuit court judge. The judge then reviews the recommendation and issues an order determining incapacity. Once the reports are reviewed and testimony is heard, the judge decides whether the person is fully incapacitated or partially incapacitated. If the judge finds the person fully incapacitated, they are determined to be unable to exercise any of the legal rights listed in the statute. A plenary guardianship is then recommended and established, giving the guardian full authority to act on the person's behalf. If the judge finds the person partially incapacitated, the court identifies which specific rights the person can still exercise. In that case, the court creates a limited guardianship that covers only those areas where help is needed. The goal is to remove no more rights than absolutely necessary. When a guardianship petition is filed, it affects some of the most fundamental rights a person can have. The examining committee and the judge carefully consider whether the person can continue to exercise each of the following rights safely and responsibly: to personally apply for government benefits, to contract, to sue and defend lawsuits, to manage property or make gifts or transfers of property, to determine where they live or reside, to consent to medical and mental health treatment, to make decisions about their social environment and relationships, to marry, to vote, to travel, to have a driver's license, to seek or retain employment, to own or possess a firearm. Each case is unique. The judge can remove or retain some rights while leaving others intact, depending on the examining committee's findings and the evidence presented. Florida law requires the court to preserve as many rights as possible, favoring limited guardianship whenever appropriate. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay informed whenever a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching today.